In this video, I'll show you the basics around using robot analysis. Basically, what I like to get you comfortable with is the navigation of robot. You'll see that the model that we brought in is very similar to what it was in Visualize, very similar to how we saw it in Revit. It's a little bit different in the coloration. All those models should transfer over as the exact same dimensions, exact same boundary conditions, things of that nature. So now when it comes in, the first thing I'll draw your attention to is in the center to upper right, we have this geometry that's listed. So currently it just comes in as geometry, but in this drop down you have a lot of different options. The geometry is a subset under the structural model, so you can look at the geometry, or we can come down to loads and just see how well those loads transferred through for our model. When that shows, you'll see in here that it gives kind of the load types, and this new window shows up about those loadings there. But when I first show that, the loading actually doesn't show anything. And so the thing that we want to showcase here is that there's different combinations. So you'll notice the DL in the window there. There's a DL here. There's a DL in the bottom right-hand corner. That's talking about the dead loads that are being applied. Now, there's currently no dead loads there. If I go to live loads, we can see if I do the drop down either here or the drop down here is the same thing. I can go back to dead loads, live loads. This is where we have the dead loads listed. Now I could go to wind loads as well, and we can visualize just the specific loadings there for wind or whatnot. Now you'll notice at the bottom, if you did your load combination correctly, the load combination should come through, and this was a combination of both the wind and the live load. And if I do the drop down all the way to new combination, it'll show both of those together. So again, the importance of putting in your load combination early on in Revit is that it transfers over directly, and we don't have to mess with creating a new one here. So those are back and forth will be, once it's created there, will again get placed in robot here. So you do want to make sure that when you're doing your analysis and looking at it, we'll make sure that the correct loading combination is utilized when we're doing the analysis, because you can do it only with subsets of that. So just the dead load or just the live load. So that's the loadings there. Now, in order to see a full analysis occur, the first thing we need to do is go to analysis and hit calculations. Currently, when it comes in, none of the analysis has been run, so this just runs the basic analysis for that model, and will run basically deflections, stresses, strains, things of that nature. And again, once it's shown here, there's nothing that is in place that's shown, but if we now go back to the original drop down, we had the structural model, and now there's a results section. So we can go to the results here, and under here we have different options, and we're gonna just start with diagrams. This is the basics of it. It'll just show now the diagrams of what are the stresses, what's the deformation, things of that nature that we want to look at. There's a whole slew of options here. We'll just go through a few of them basically. You could pick any one of these here and hit apply, and we'll show you what is the moment that's created at different points along there. Now for our specific, we're just going to look at the deformation, and we'll hit apply, and this shows the deflected shape of your members. Now if you find that it is incredibly off, it's kind of flying off the screen or not visible, the deformation is too large, you can actually hit here at normalize, and normalize will put it back into a place where you can see all of that in our current window. Now again, if that was too much, we can go back to the current listing, and that was too much. Okay, and we can apply that, and you'll get different deformations based off of how much you're going to show that. Let's just apply. So that goes back to there was 0039 was the original. Normalize changes the diagram of the scale of that, so it's not actually deflecting that far. It's just showing what the actual deflected shape looks like. So that's going to show the main analysis there. Now you'll see here actually that the deflected shape is only built on dead loads. So make sure again when you go back that you pull the deflected shape for the correct load combination that you want. So in this case here we'll show again that deflection went way too far out there, so we normalize that and it brings it back to with the wind load, and the live load. How is that visualized in terms of that deformation? Again, there's different things we can put in here, stress, reactions, all sorts of stuff there. This just gets us into the basic of showing where to find all of that information.